everybody, and it's very exciting. 12:09, we're almost there. It's very exciting that we have such a wide array of fields and different types of educational setups, and also that means different types of constraints, and for you, different types of challenges. So this is a very long title, we are aware of that, and maybe a little bit intimidating, but let's see how we go. And please do feel free to also interrupt us if you want throughout. I know we only have 20 minutes and some questions, but we're very happy for this to be interactive. Right, we are officially starting. So I am head of languages at the secondary school in Etiquette. And also coordinator of the DP program, so DIB, the last 2 years.
Thanks. And Annette Wittenius here. I am a biology teacher, teach in middle school and high school. And I guess the big question would be, why am I talking about language, language teaching, right? So we will answer that question in a few minutes. But before that, we want you to quickly participate in a short activity. Each slide will contain a statement. And if you see there, we have disagree and agree. And we would like you to stand up, just move a bit. And we will read this statement and we'll ask you to stand somewhere between disagree and agree. You can choose the polls, you can choose something in between. Unfortunately, we don't have time to ask for your justification like we would do in class. So today, just quick activity. So let's see. Memorizing helps to transfer knowledge to new situations. Agree or disagree or somewhere in the middle? You choose.
So memorizing knowledge, memorizing facts.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. There's a real continuum.
Oh. Yeah. That's agree and disagree. There's a written there.
Okay. We have quite a few disagree. Okay.
Good to see that there's a full continuum. Memorizing does not support understanding.
And the stress is on the not. Does not.
Does not. Or how do we? Does not.
Does not. Aha, we agree.
Agree. Okay. Memorizing helps learning in all subjects.
All right, thank you very much. We will come back to these. Please, you're welcome to take your seats again.
I think the results are quite interesting. To see that there is a big difference between opinions.
So we'll start with the why, because I'm a why person. I'm a big picture person. And the reason we are all here coming to a conference and stepping away from, the routine of surviving through teaching and asking ourselves questions about how to teach better every day. There is one thing I think that we're all in common, which is we want to have an impact, right? We want to know that what we're doing has purpose and it makes a difference to our students' learning. I don't know if you're familiar with John Hattie. So John Hattie is a New Zealand educational researcher, if you haven't heard of him. And he is particularly known for this publication, Visible Learning for Teachers, Maximizing Impact on Learning. And in this book, it's a compilation of his research going through thousands and thousands of studies and identifying the factors which have the strongest impact. So when you have this book in your hands, it feels incredibly powerful because you think, this is it. I've got the Bible. Now I'm going to be foolproof. Everything is going to go well from now on. So what do we have? What you'll see here is that this is not a toolbox of strategies. This is not a series of activities that you can do and be confident this is definitely going to work 100% of the time, wherever I am in the world, with whatever age and whatever students. This is more about you as an individual reflecting on your craft as an educator. So the factors that do have, according to the research that John Hattie has done and a few others, have a high impact on learning, is when teachers are passionate about helping the students to learn. And we are all passionate because we're all here and we're all taking a Saturday off to go through ideas of how can we make our students learn. But do they know that? Do they actually know that we are passionate about it? Because they also see us angry with them when they haven't done what they were supposed to do. They see us stressed because we have so many different things to do. Do they know that we actually want them to succeed, right? The strong relationship with students, that comes under the same thing. Being clear about what we want our students to learn. Yeah, obviously those clear objectives, those clear outcomes that we want them to get to, so they know what's the purpose. And I think the SDGs sort of come in line with that. We talked about this before. Not being afraid of being a stage on the stage. There is sometimes with contemporary education a fear of, but if I'm standing in front of my students, this is really old-fashioned teaching. And if the head of school walks past and he sees me doing this, he's going to think terrible things about me. Well, I mean, we know that sometimes we do have to be have those moments where it has to be us explaining how things, what are we going to do, and also passing on certain skills and knowledge. Adopt evidence-based teaching strategies, and that's what we're going to particularly focus on today. That's a really tough one because, okay, you took Saturday off today to listen to what other people are doing and what they've researched, but we don't have time to read research. I mean, it's really hard to find the time. And so many of you, I'm so blown away in Latvia by the number of people who are teaching and studying at the same time. And I think when we are both a student and a teacher at the same time, it's an incredibly powerful moment because we are forced to read research. We are forced to implement some strategies in the classroom and reflect on them as part of papers you have to write. The minute you're done with your master's, that stops. Unless you have to do some presentations to other professionals. So having access to those evidence-based teaching strategies, it sounds good, but again, it's about having the opportunity to share with your colleagues. And then finally, monitoring your impact on students' learning and adjusting your approaches accordingly. And monitoring your impact, we just had a presentation by Olga before about the type of questioning. That in itself is evaluating your impact, but also formative tasks and all sorts of different things that are going to tell us how they're going. And of course, actively seeking to improve our own teaching. And again, this is the reason why you are all here today, which is part of adopting those evidence-based teaching strategies. So as part of that scary big title that we had for today, it talked about action research. This is something that Aneta and I have worked on together. And before also, when we're talking about SDGs, we're talking about how good it is to have a buddy, to have someone with whom you feel, I'm not on my own here. We can actually get this going. So there is this element of, number one, working with a top professional, and I'm not being nice. And number two, having the opportunity to put our different areas of competence together. So Aneta is an excellent biology teacher, and I look after languages and how to support our learners of English in school. So we are going to talk about what particular problem Aneta found herself in. And what we were interested in doing is finding a way to reflect on what Aneta was doing and the kind of strategies that we could use in a way that would be empowering, instead of having that sort of heavy feeling of, yeah, I'm going to try this today and it might work with a few people, and then next day I'm going to have to try something else, and then maybe that's going to work with a few people. And it just feels like an endless thing of, when do I feel empowered? When do I feel that I'm part of a bigger thing, right? So the action research is to achieve that sense of empowerment, both for ourselves educators, but also for students, because we include them in the process. So the great thing about action research is that it ticks the boxes of what John Hattie found out as the factors that have a high impact on learning. So action research, that this thing here that I'm sure you are familiar with, we need to start with identifying a problem. We need to develop a plan of action. We collect the data, we analyze the data, and thank God, Aneta is a biology teacher because she knows all about research. And then we are not quite at this stage. This is the next stage that we'll get to. And look at this. With this, we are applying evidence-based teaching strategy, and we'll tell you which one we chose. And this is only one tool. We're not saying this is the only tool. We chose a particular strategy that research has shown has a high impact on learning. It allowed us to monitor our impact, or Aneta's impact, on students' learning and adjusting her approaches accordingly. And it allowed us to actively seek to improve, in this case, Aneta's teaching, through getting student feedback and analyzing the result. And the feedback is twofold. The feedback is their results, how they did in their unit tests in biology, but also explicit reflection with students on how they felt about using this particular strategy, which is an incredibly empowering moment for both teachers and students. And that's the last bit here, involving, I apologize, Aneta, you're going to be hit there in a minute, involving the students in the process. And that's where we show them, because we can't assume that they know that we care. At this point, when they realize, wow, they're going through all this stuff. And we are including them in the reflection of, so this is what we're doing. There was a problem. We identified it. We tried this strategy, and you're going to see what the methodology is, and they can see, okay, so there is that situation and that situation, and we're going to draw some conclusions from that. And all of that is to know whether it had an impact on your learning, and you're going to take part in thinking about, did that actually impact on our learning? And we had some fantastic reflections from students last week about that. Right. What was the problem, Ms. Aneta?
So I have to now give in some compliment about Fleur, because you did so many. So first of all, I have a really great support here in school, and there are a lot of supportive people in the school, but especially Fleur. She helped me a lot with the language part of teaching, because it turns out that biology, I didn't know that before, because I was teaching biology in my native language. So then I moved here to work here, and it turns out that biology is super vocabulary heavy. I didn't know that. And I'm teaching second language speakers. I'm myself, I'm a second language speaker, but somehow I didn't notice that it will be like that. So this September, when I approached the new 8th grade, turns out that their level of English is not as high as you would need to study biology this level. So there is a bit of a problem here. I was going to Fleur and being like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm trying different things. I just don't know. So, and you can see here actually the results of a survey that we gave to students. So most of the time they understand when teachers talking. I don't think it's ideal for a class. Most of the time they understand the written instruction, and I think they were being too nice, because I think they actually, it's actually less if you see by the test results. And this one was concerning because only sometimes they can use the biology terms when they speak, and mostly sometimes when they write in English. And that's concerning, because I am testing their understanding in biology, but they don't have that bridge, how to convey that knowledge. So yeah, this was our problem.
So the strategy that we chose was retrieval practice. And retrieval practice, the definition, and I should have put a reference here, this is from the research on retrieval practice. It is the act of recalling previously learned information. So anytime you try and remember a phone number, and you don't do that anymore because you have the phone. Anytime you try and go from point A to point B, and you don't do that anymore because you use your GPS, all of that stuff is retrieval practice. And look at that. It's at the bottom of the pyramid of Bloom's taxonomy that I'm sure everyone is familiar with. It's at the bottom of the pyramid, so it has a bad name. It's, again, going back to also the stage on the stage kind of feeling. It's seen as old school rote learning, bad. Cannot do that. Cannot ask students to learn things by heart, because this is what my parents grew up doing, and this is bad. It is at the bottom. It has the lowest status in the pyramid. But it's at the bottom of a pyramid for a reason. You know, if we remove this bit, everything falls over. So it is needed. And research shows, in fact, that retrieval practice is incredibly powerful. And I'm a little bit of a broken record on this one, because I've said that to you know, on regular occasions, different people, and people think I'm mad, because this is just a boring, old-fashioned thing. But it's incredibly powerful if you look at research-based strategies. Remember, so and frequent, and recent research, which is very important, and we'll come back to that. So frequent classroom quizzing with feedback. So with feedback meaning not as great job, but rather correction. So, you know, I see what I'm getting correctly, and I see the things that I need to improve. Yeah. So frequent classroom quizzing with feedback improves student learning and retention. And multiple choice quizzing is as effective as short answer quizzing for this purpose. So it doesn't matter what type of, here we're talking about quiz specifically, but it doesn't matter what type of quiz I'm going to give, it's going to have an impact as long as they're getting a correction. And look at this. It's helping to strengthen connections. It's helping to check for misunderstanding. It's making it easier to learn new things. So if you think back over the statements at the beginning of the session, memorizing helps to transfer to new situations and new learning. Yes, it does. And memorizing helps learning. I remember all the statements that we had. But, oh yes, that's right. It was memorizing does not support understanding. Well, actually, yes, it does. Obviously, you have to take it to the next level. You know, if you're just going to stay at that level of you have to learn the system vocabulary by heart and that's it, well, yes, there's an issue with that. But in the context of what Annette is doing with biology, they then have to use this terminology in context to apply in whatever they're doing. If you think of ChatGPT, that is, I had to fit that in, okay? Because otherwise, it's not 2022. Yes. So, okay, if you think of ChatGPT, it retrieves lots of stuff from its database. And it's incredibly powerful, so it can retrieve a lot of stuff from its database, which is huge. We have a brain that does not have as much capacity as AI does, but we can do this. We can actually retrieve it. And if we don't have information to retrieve, then how can we possibly go to the level of analysis and evaluation and creation? Because we have no basis to build on to create that analysis. So we have to start somewhere, and our students have to start somewhere. Oh my God, I'm just going to, okay. So this is what we did then. We applied this to the grade 8. And how do we do that? Anita.
So how did we apply this? So I actually, during a whole unit, not that important what exactly the unit was, during a whole unit, I randomly selected vocabulary. Half of it was, so we were learning the vocabulary. Then after a week, I was quizzing them on this vocabulary, and we divided these quizzes into open book and closed book. So obviously the closed book need the retrieval practice, and in the open book they can just use anything on any books and notes that they have. And we wanted to see whether there is an impact of these closed book tests on the end of the unit test. That's the one they're writing at the end of the unit.
Yep. Let's go. Okay.
And what we found out. So the whole process was just different details, how we Markov test, blah, blah, blah. But what we found out was that actually 60% of correct answers were on the content tested with closed books. And I mean, it's a very close, but still less. 50% of correct answers was content tested with open books. So there is a bit of difference. We had really small sample size and just one situation, but I'm sure if we would extend this research, we would see even bigger difference.
And this is the scary bit. So this is the bit where Aneta and I, even Aneta with her top research skills, she still had stuff to learn there. What was really powerful for us as educators is obviously collaboration. You know, we both put together our different areas of specialization, but also research skills. So we work in collaboration with the psychology teacher, who also happens to be a university. We still have 5 minutes of question time, so we'll do that. Who also happens to be a university tutor. He doesn't want to be called professor, so yeah, university person. So he has very strong research background. And we took that research to him thinking he's going to laugh at us. And he didn't. And he even told us we could publish it. So this was a strong, also empowering moment for us that we could actually contribute to the research from, daily concerns about having to support our students. And this is the product of that. And we could actually tell you about this, but we won't because it's a bit boring. This also, when we presented this to students, so the grade 8 students, and for people who know the grade 8, Aneta is doing an amazing job at
Struggling with them.
At channeling their interest, because first of all, it's a big class, and there are lots of different levels of English and different levels of maturity. I mean, grade 8 is a tough age. And when we presented this and we explained the whole thing, they could have just gone, yeah, whatever. No, there was a real reaction to this. And the most interesting one I have to say was from Alexandra, who said, yeah, well, it's a percentage, which means it's an average. So it doesn't apply to everybody. Yes, point taken. But so what we explained to them is, yes, true, some of you will be in that the remaining percentage that for whom it doesn't show at this point that it has an impact. But that shows, however, that this is a strategy that has an impact. And it's not just us. It is part of a big body of research that has shown that retrieval practice is powerful. So try it. From now on, give it a go and see. It might actually have an impact. And then there were some very interesting discussions with other students who said that he felt that when he had the vocab list next to him, instead of having made the effort to try and recall the vocab, he said it's distracting. So he had understood that, in fact, it was more powerful. Right, the Quizlet.
So we wanted to show you the strategy that I use, particularly in my classes, how we, in the beginning of the class, retrieve the vocabulary from previous lesson. And today you're not going to have the possibility to have a week between this moment and the activity. We'll try to give you the activity now because we have a few minutes.
We do indeed.
Yes.
Share. And
so we'll do a classic live Quizlet. Quizlet is a really useful site, which can help students to.
Is anyone here not familiar with Quizlet? Everyone is familiar with Quizlet? Yes, you all use it regularly? No, okay. So I just did the thing that, yes, bad. It's about the quality of questioning. This was bad questioning. So I just want to say, I chose here individual. When you use Quizlet, you can either use the team function or individual function. Team function is brilliant because it will randomly put people together.
Sorry.
And because it's only, for the purpose of a short session of practice, it doesn't matter if it's, usually you might want to have specific students together. Occasionally random teams is not a bad thing. And you can see then students really discussing what it should be, and there's collaboration that has to happen.
So yeah, you can scan the QR code and join and try it out. It will be about the topics that we just
After we go
talked
through
about.
cards, do we do a quiz?
The cards are just for you to practice while
practice,
we're waiting when everyone connects. So
It's so that you don't start doing something else.
what
Which
they
is
always do.
no, but it's true. It's good because then they actually have something to do and to practice on the thing.
Yeah.
I think you can start.
Is everyone connected, or is it? I see people still
Oh,
connecting.
sorry, wait, wait.
Yeah. Here we have Stephen connecting.
I know.
All right. I see people still connecting, and I think just let's start. So everyone gets a code name, and
I
I can do this. Let's start the game. And so the students, they don't see who exactly is the first place. It's more they're playing with themselves, but they're still competing with each other in a way.
I wonder who the human is. Not me.
Of course you can't choose.
You can't choose.
Practically.
Yeah, the music normally gives a little bit of.
You want the music, okay?
You know.
Oh, but you can't put it back on. Sorry. Yeah, I'm one of those. I'm one of those people who always. So we have a winner who is Chameleon Olga, and two more second place Dolphins and third place Mustangs. Thank you for joining.
Okay, and thank you for this. I think we
I
are.
think this is the
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I think we have a couple of minutes for questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Questions or comments from anyone? Yeah.
Thank you very much. It was so inspiring. Let's do action research in primary.
Let's do that.
I have a question. Aneta, are you planning to continue with grade 8?
Yeah, so right now at this moment, Quizlet is a part of any lesson. So we are not continuing, we haven't continued the research, but the Quizlet, but we could, yeah.
No, we will, because because that question was asked.
Yeah,
by students, like, so now.
Yes.
And I think, we need to finish that momentum, because also it's part of seeing that impact of, them being involved in it.
And I actually wanted to add that this activity, us telling students that we're doing this,
Yeah.
and then that we will check upon them later, it gives them the sense of understanding about their learning. I think this is the visible learning that we're always talking about, how to make the process of learning, how to make strategies, how to give them strategies on how to learn. Talking about it helps really, really a lot. Yes, sir.
Do you share the specific information about each student's performance? Like do each student know their percentage, their role, like difference, or just the average in the classroom?
That would be lovely. They get the results on the. So what I do actually when we practice, I use this form of life. And then they don't, in this Quizlet, you cannot get the percentage that they got. But when I want to check them, especially for this research, I actually printed out the test version. You can also do that with the same set of vocabulary in the Quizlet. So you can print out the test, and then I mark the test, and then they saw their percentage. Yes.
But you could, Kahoot, on the other hand, if you use Kahoot, does give you a report with specific students that you can use as a way to help students see their strengths and weaknesses.
Is it on the premium?
No. I think you can see the report even without the premium version.
Yeah, but I do like to use Quizlet because it is just such big help. You just have the same set. And you can rinse and repeat and use it. And for Kahoot, there's much more time. I'm really thinking about my time when I'm planning the lessons.
Yeah, and what's powerful about this as well is that I think, I can't remember, there was a mention. Oh yes, I was thinking of the Daniel and his peer talking about being in a big class and the teacher not having time to figure around everyone. The good thing about Quizlet is that they have basically an individual teacher with immediate feedback, and it doesn't matter where they are, and that's a content that the teacher can control, as opposed to going to try and find some random stuff on the internet to try and help. So that's where it's powerful as well.
Another tool that one of primary teachers introduced is Word Wall, where you also create one set and then it generates a lot of activities with the same content. And also you can assign tests, you can do printouts, or a lot of options.
Word Wall.
Yeah,
I'll check it out.
Word Wall. Okay.
I'll write it down.
like there are 10 different ones. You create one set and it gives you 10 different options how to use the vocabulary.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you.
Sometimes you need to push it up.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'm here for a timing. So thank you, ladies, for your work.